Welcome to the Retirement Blueprint with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. Tim, thank you again for letting me join your program. It is great to see you. Are you excited about today's topics?
I'm always excited. We have so much fun on here, right? I mean, this is like, it's my favorite thing.
You're out of the office. We're talking about financial planning. You love talking to the people of Dayton, though. We love when they call the phone number, 855-684-3485. Get your own retirement blueprint started. But today we are in-house. We're in the television studio. You know, we were talking about retirement risks before, and I feel like there was so much more that we had left to talk about. I'd like to continue with some of that, if you don't mind, because I think they're really important things that we want to cover for the folks of Dayton. Do you mind recovering into retirement risks?
No, let's keep it going. I mean, I think the last week's show, there was more that we wanted to talk about.
There's meat left on the bone.
There was meat left on the bone. Let's see if we can gnaw that off.
All right, you got it. Now, this might not sound quite as tantalizing right away, but it's one of those risks that I think is very difficult for people to control on their own, or they don't know what to do with. This one's called legislative risk. And I might even throw in that same basket tax risk. But let's start with, can you tell me what is the concept of legislative risk and why does a retiree have to be concerned about that?
Well, Spike, I think first of all, we need to say we're going to talk about politics, so we can easily make half of the people in Dayton unhappy with us right from the beginning. Well, no, listen, this is bipartisan
I always say that, there's the red side, there's the blue side, but your money is green.
Yes.
And that's what you like to focus on. Let's keep it in the middle.
Well, and I obviously, I've been through however many election cycles now, and, it's always funny to me because I'll have back-to-back appointments and, people will come in and they'll be like, if so-and-so wins, I'm moving to Canada. And then the next appointment says if the other person wins, I'm moving to Canada. And they're both equally as passionate about
mad, whatever you want to say.
Whoever it is, the end of the world's going to happen. And listen, presidents inherit economies. They don't dictate economies. That's the first thing. And the second thing is if you're not happy with the economy, give it 4 more years, right? I mean, so change will happen. Our job is not to worry about who wins from the standpoint of who's sitting in the seat. Our job is to figure out how do we optimize and get the best benefit for whoever that is for our clients. And that's really one of the things, I listened to our wealth management team talk about this very subject. And they're very passionate about figuring out what's the government going to spend money on. Because whoever's in office is going to spend it on something. And so if they can figure out what they're going to spend it on, that's how they can capitalize.
Right. But like you said, these things happen, wait 4 years, we'll have a different economy. I don't know. I might just, as the viewer, I might say I'm not seeing a lot of change happening quickly. I'm seeing inflation go up. I'm seeing, more importantly, a debt clock that's running close to $30 trillion right now.
Right.
This legislative risk for those who are in retirement right now, what might you see as the first couple of roadblocks that they should be paying attention to within the next year or two? Anything immediate on the horizon?
Sure. And so, we're not here to predict what's going to come.
We don't have a crystal ball.
We don't have a crystal ball.
Next.
We don't know what's going to happen, but we do have trends that we see, and there's things that people are genuinely concerned about. Things like Social Security, things like taxes. Understand that it's not a whether or not things are going to change. It's just going to be when, because change is part of what look how much change we've seen in the last 30 years just since I've been doing this. I mean, there's been so many things that have changed and so many things that have taken place. So, when we look at the viability of change, what stands out to you? I mean, if you're a viewer at home in Dayton, Ohio right now, what is on your mind? What would you be concerned about?
Two things came to mind as soon as you said that to me. And folks, this is not a scripted show. This is live. I mean, I don't know the answer to this one. The first thing that came into my head was taxes, which is a different kind of risk. But when we're talking about legislation and how laws can change, that came in. And then the next thing that came into my mind was Social Security.
Okay.
Because I think this is the one that nobody is talking about.
Right.
And it's 10, 11 years away we're talking about the Social Security Trust Fund. I'll let you talk to that. But was I in the ballpark on taxes and Social Security?
No, I think that's great, Spike. I think those are, so listen, let me talk about the changes that I've seen. Just in my career, okay? I mean, we go back to a capital gains rate in the late 90s of 28%. That now got almost cut in half.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 50% decrease in a tariff on making money long term in the world of the market.
Right. So that's one thing to the debt
That's
clock.
one thing, and so that got better, right? And then we've seen something like, well, let's look at estate planning. When I first started, the unified gift credit, and for the viewers at home, that's fancy term for how much money you could die with and not have to pay estate taxes on it.
All right.
So not state, S-T-A-T-E, but estate taxes. And so it was $680,000. Now it's over $11 million. Again, things changed significantly. In that time frame. And then you look at things like just recently with the stretch IRA. We've talked about that on shows past. Now the only thing we mentioned about stretch IRAs is that you can't do it anymore. And I mean, that's just 2 years old.
And these are all legislative
changes.
Risks. Wow.
They changed the age of the required minimum distribution on IRAs from 70.5 to 72. Legislative changes. And so as we're looking out from a planning standpoint, those are all the things that we have to keep in mind. Some of those made sense and we saw coming. Some of them we did not. We didn't see the stretch IRA going away. We didn't see them changing the required minimum distribution age. We don't know if things are going to go the other direction. I mean, what if in the next 5 or 10 years, you talked about the debt. What was that number?
We're almost at $30 trillion right now.
$30 trillion.
It's a number I can't even wrap my head around.
Folks at home, if you don't know how many commas that is, Google it. I mean, it's a lot of commas, a lot of zeros. $30 trillion. How do we pay off debt in this country? What is our sole source of income? Taxation. And so we've charged a credit card $30 trillion. At some point, the credit card's got to be paid. Right? And so how is that going to happen? What is the potential tax impact, or where are they going to carve money out to help pay that off? Is it Social Security? Is that magic date, what is it,
2034 right
2034.
Now. Last year it was 2036.
Yeah.
This is an engaging conversation. Unfortunately, we do have to take a very quick break. Please, though, tell our viewers about the Complimentary Retirement Blueprint before we have to jump away to commercial.
Sure. So one of the things that we offer to the folks that pick up the number and call is a complimentary meeting. It is designed to allow you to tell us your story, to get to know you, and to help talk about some of these things that we've just been talking about today with Spike. How is taxes going to impact you? How do legislative changes impact you? If you don't know the answer to that, and you would like to have somebody share some insight and how it might impact your plan, give us a call.
The risks that you are worried about are exactly the kind of things that Tim and his team address with the Retirement Blueprint. It is complimentary to get started. Dayton, what are you waiting for? Give us a call, 855-684-3485. We're going to be back with more of the Retirement Blueprint, and we're going to talk about this risk. I could not believe this was a risk, longevity risk. When we get back, right after this break.
Unexpected events, like a global pandemic, can turn our world upside down overnight. They can cause volatile shifts that may cause you to question the confidence in your current retirement plan. As a retiree or a pre-retiree, knowing you have a plan that can withstand the worst economic conditions is vital. Contact us today for a complimentary review. Get a second opinion and learn more about our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Let us plan your tomorrow today. We're passionate about making sure our clients live stress-free in retirement. We do that with the Retirement Blueprint. It's our trademark planning process designed to help you navigate to and through retirement. When you're nearing retirement, it's essential that you have a written plan. and know exactly how that plan will work for you. Let us show you how 27 years of experience can make a difference in your plan.
Thank you so much, Dayton, for coming back to the Retirement Blueprint with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. Tim, it's great to be here. We're talking our continued conversation. It's actually been kind of a two-show series on retirement risks, and you're kind of going through them, talking about the kinds of things that we're paying attention to. I do want to talk about longevity risk, but I think this is unfair. You and I have a lot of great conversations in between the breaks, and you just blew my mind with this statistic in between the break here. Please share again with everybody what we were talking about on the break.
Well, we were talking about, the idea of how often things change. And, a statistic that I just saw in a study said that tax law in the last 10 years, there's been almost 4,000 changes to tax law.
Oh my God, 4,000?
Now, listen.
I didn't think 4,000 votes could get passed through down in the clown show of D.C. Or is it 4,000 times it got changed?
So, the number's sensational, right? And for the most part, lots of those changes probably didn't impact most of our viewers at home. But some of them did.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly some of the things that we were talking about before we went to break, capital gains rates and estate tax and stretch IRA going away and required minimum distribution planning. I mean, those are direct impacts, right? But just so people understand how much change happens and how important it is to have somebody from a planning standpoint. And one of the things that we, have on our staff is a planner that does tax planning.
Oh, okay.
He's a CPA. He's got the background to be able to help us understand what's coming and how we can take advantage of it.
Well, that's not like it's quite unique to your firm, because usually there's the investment part of somebody's firm, and then there's the taxes part. But to have somebody in-house who can help you put together, to actually cook all of that meal together to make sure all the parts and pieces are working, that's quite valuable.
Plus our estate planning attorney. And so, I mean, it's important, as we formed this team, to make sure that all those areas of retirement are being covered by, fiduciary advice.
Right. Well, as I said to the folks, one more thing that I wanted to talk about as far as risks was longevity risk. Now, this made me scratch my head. So how is living longer actually a risk? And from all of the ones that you've named over the last couple of weeks here, it kind of sounds like the only one that I have some control over. I mean, if I want to live longer, I can just start backing off on some bacon cheeseburgers, right? Hey, I got to start living a little bit healthy. This is the only thing it seems like I can control here. But this is, I think there's a lot in here. Can you talk about why longevity is such a worrisome risk for today's retiree?
Well, definitely. I mean, Spike, let's go back to 1935.
Okay.
Okay,
all right.
1935, for the viewers at home that are not economics geeks like
I know
me,
where you're going with this.
Yeah?
I know what he's doing here.
That's when Social Security started. And so if you look at Social Security, how old do I have to be to get Social Security
Well,
then?
so 65 for your full,
65.
62 if you want less.
Yeah, but back then it was 65. That was the number.
Okay.
And guess what the life expectancy was, Spike?
It was mid 60s maybe.
Yeah.
So from what I understood, because I've read the same stuff you have, when it came out in 1935, Social Security was meant to be a little bit of a savings and assistance for what, a year or two maybe, 3, 4 tops? It was never meant to be a 30-year solution to your retirement, correct?
Well, people believe it now to be a pension.
Yeah.
Right? That it was never developed or designed as a pension. I mean, it's clearly, if you look at 1935, you had a potential income solution that most people would die before they got. Well, that's not a 30-year pension that it is today, where somebody retires at 65 and gets that Social Security for 30 years. That's not what it was designed to do. But what did I just say? 30 years.
Yeah.
So the average life expectancy when Social Security started was early 60s
Early
to
60s,
mid-60s,
yeah, mid-60s.
depending on if you were a girl or a guy. And today, a married couple, one of them makes it to 94.
Yeah.
So
if you're 65, married, there's a 78% chance, I think, that one of you is going to reach the age of 94 or beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically 3 out of 4. If you're married, because I guess you live healthier if you're married.
You do.
Maybe you live a little bit better, like you go to bed a little bit earlier, right? It's the single folks. They just don't have to worry about as long-term care planning. But we're living longer. So that's just one element when you're talking about Social Security. The savings. When people come to your office right now, are they considering 35 years of spend down? How long do people normally think they're going to live when they come into your office for the first time?
The average person that we sit down with is not past the age of 72 in their thought process. Now, let me explain that. And so, as we think about growing up, there's these benchmark ages that we reach. 16, I get to drive a car, and 21, I can buy a beer, and 25, I can rent a car.
At 26, I got to get my own health insurance.
Yeah, so we have all these ages, and then as we kind of go on, there's a new set of benchmarks. Between 62 and 67, I get to claim Social Security, and at 65, I go on Medicaid, and what used to be 70 and a half, now 72, the government makes me take money out of my retirement plan. Stop. That's it. There isn't a benchmark after that. And so people are trained to think towards benchmarks. Once you've achieved that last benchmark, people don't think past that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of conversations that we have in the offices, it's usually guys, because us guys all think we're going to die tomorrow. We're never going to make it. And you start talking about age 95 or 94 or 90 for that matter. What do they say?
I'm never going to make it. It's
I'm
not
never
for
going to
me.
make it.
Maybe it's not, I'm never going to make it. Maybe it's for my spouse. We'll talk about that. But I'm not going to be there.
So my answer to that is, okay, so if you're not, this money's still going to be there for your spouse. Somebody's money's going to make it to 94. So it's a legitimate conversation.
Yeah.
But from a planning standpoint, we've got to think through that longevity, because it also goes back to what we were talking about in earlier segments of, that growth piece. People saying, well, I'm worried about, growth because, I can't take a lot of risk because I'm 65. Well, no, if the job is growth and you're 65, that's 30-year money, potentially. I mean, no guarantee, but here's the question. What if you're wrong? What if you make it to 95? What if the same thing that happened from 1935 to 2022 happens to some degree going forward, and all of a sudden that 95 is a younger age? Because that's where technology is going.
Yeah.
There's so much in the works right now that could increase, and it's not about living longer, right? I mean, I don't want to live longer drooling on myself on the front porch.
But we are living longer, healthier, more aware, and I think that one of the words that really sticks out to me when I think about this conversation is dignity. That I want to have dignity and I want to have choice when I get there, and I also don't want to. I also think of the word burden. That I don't want to put this burden out on my kids or my grandkids or somebody else to take care of us. So longevity is a concept that we need to take into account. We're going to talk just a little bit more about it, and I want to talk about this long retirement. But do please tell me a little bit more about the retirement blueprint. I know it's complimentary for the listeners or for the viewers of our television program, but what exactly will that entail, and will you address things like longevity inside the retirement blueprint?
Definitely. So, Dayton, one of the things that really drove me to design the retirement blueprint in the first place was having a roadmap, something that you could look at and understand your path forward from where you are today through retirement. That's what we do for our clients. We don't build a plan and give it to them and we're done. We build a plan so that we can then do life with them. Because we've talked about in this show, change. Change happens. Change is going to happen to you. What's your plan for that change? Allow us the opportunity to meet you, to hear your story, and to help craft that change in the form of a plan and building you your own retirement blueprint.
And the best way to get that retirement blueprint is call the number that you see right here, 855-684-3485. We're going to continue a little bit of a conversation on longevity and talk about how long your own retirement might be, 30, 35 years, when we get back right after this brief break.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton. And for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today. Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back, Dayton, to the Retirement Blueprint with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel, and we've been talking for the last couple of weeks on different retirement risks, and we're kind of wrapping it all up here. We're talking, though, about longevity risk, and I'm kind of curious, as you've been saying now, there's a lot of folks out there who are going to be living well into their 90s, hopefully healthy and aware and gracefully and with choice, right? But I'm kind of wondering, I hear this conversation around a little bit about planning for an earlier retirement. Is this a concept you're comfortable with today when we know how long we're living? What do you think about somebody who's coming and saying, you know, I want to get out when I'm 58, I want to get out when I'm 60, I want to get out when I'm 62. Is this a numbers-based decision for you, meaning we have to look at sums, or is this more about lifestyle? What kind of conversation do you have about the idea of having a really long retirement today and making sure we've got enough funds to last all the way through?
I think we could do a show on this.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, so to give perspective, when I first started, so this is early 90s, and at that time, there was a real push for people to retire at 55.
Yeah.
That was like a goal. Like everybody wanted to retire at 50, 55, and they were going to live this long retirement, and it was going to be awesome. So that took place into the early 2000s, and in 2000, things didn't go well.
Yeah.
The tech bubble burst. We saw,
2001, there was 9/11.
Right.
We saw another anomaly in the market there.
Sure. We went 10 years in a sideways market, zero growth, right? And so that changed. And it changed in a big way. Some people had to go back to work, but a lot of people discovered something that's too young. What are you going to do? I mean, you can only golf and fish so much, and who are you going to hang out with?
Yeah.
Because all your friends are working, and so the idea of early retirement helped us to redefine what retirement sounded like, what it looked like, what it felt like, and we changed our definition over that decade. And so our current definition, and I've shared this, on the show for a long time, retirement is when you go to work because you choose to, not because you have to. Yeah. That's retirement. Has nothing to do with golf courses and rocking chairs. And so when you look at the ability to be able to retire, that's a financial-based scenario. The other issue that you run into is that if I retire at 55 or 60, I'm losing out on one of the most important parts of my retirement savings, and that is growth. We've talked about in shows past that, whatever your goal number is, whatever we come up with on your plan, that you have to get to that number, you only have to get to half of that number about 10 years before you retire. Time takes care of the rest. Growth takes care of the rest. If I cut that out of the equation, I've got to save a much bigger number. And so the planning to do that has to happen back in your 20s and 30s.
Right, and I call it today's modern retiree. It is different. If I can just go back real quick, because you were talking about 20, 30 years ago, even bumping up to the year 2000. I think there's a different aspect that even some people as late as the 1980s and 1990s still had, and that was parts of pensions. And I think that's really gone to the wayside. I think when people were talking about early retirement in the 1970s and 1980s, you still had a lot of people who did have pensions, whether they were police officers or firemen or people who worked in government sectors. And those folks still do have pension plans. But the rest of the United States, we're down to about 17%. Somewhere is a number I've aggregated. About 17% of the organizations in the United States offer any version of pension plan, and about 10% of those are some version of the government, right?
Right.
So the ability to be able to retire early, I agree with you. You've got to start in your 20s or 30s. So when people are coming into you right now, they're 62, they're 63, they're 64. Again, I'll go back to, do we have to look at what's in the bank? Do we have to look at the savings, or do we have to look at the lifestyle and the monthly expenditures? What makes you comfortable in letting somebody know that they're ready to retire?
Yes.
Thank you.
Spike,
Yeah.
you hit all three,
Okay.
right? We have three things that we can work with. How long we work, how much we save, and how much we spend. That's it. And so we have people that come into the office, and we talked about the pandemic thing and people retiring and saying, I'm out. And they've come in and they've said, you know what? Here's what we have. Tell us what we have to live on. And they're totally fine with that. We have another group that comes in and says, here's the number we need on a monthly basis. Tell us how long we have to work to get there. And then there's a third group of people that are willing to look at the math of, if I do this or I do that, and maybe they work a couple of years longer than they were planning on, spend a little bit less to make it meet in the middle. That's the three people that come to our office.
Yeah.
And so whatever they're willing to do, whatever their goal is going to drive their plan.
Well, that sounds amazing, and I know there's all different kinds of folks out there, and there's all different kinds of folks who are watching the program. What you do for the Dayton area, or for anybody actually who's out in the viewing area of your television show, you'll do a complimentary retirement blueprint. Please tell them exactly what they're going to get from that experience from you.
Well, you're going to get exactly what we've talked about on today's show. You're going to have somebody to sit down with you. In fact, not just someone, a team of people to sit down, take a listen to what you want to have happen, to hear you, and to be able to craft a comprehensive plan that will ensure that you have the retirement that you dreamed of. We are here at your disposal, but you have to pick up the phone and give us a call. There's no way we can do this over the TV show. The only way that you find solutions and find answers and build your very own retirement blueprint is to pick up the phone and give us a call today. We'd love to meet you. And we very much enjoy what we do, don't we, Spike?
I love doing the show, and I love doing the show with you. And folks, if I could just be even more poignant about it, you can't get a haircut over the phone, right? You got to make sure that you call, you come in, and you sit down for an appointment. Please call 855-684-3485. Thank you for watching The Retirement Blueprint.